Nigel Mansell is one of the most fearless drivers in motorsport history. Throughout his career, Mansell survived 3 of the most brutal crashes that could have easily ended his career. One of them nearly costing him his life. In this video, we'll break down those terrifying accidents and the incredible resilience it took him to recover and return to racing. With each crash, Mansell faced the real threat of not racing again. But how close was he to disaster? Brace yourself to witness the moments that nearly cost him everything. In motorsport, you have these legendary drivers who excel in any type of car, and Nigel Mansell is one of them. Over 12 years in Formula 1, he navigated through different rule changes and different driving styles, proving quick and versatile in all of them. In 1992, he proved this, destroying his teammate as Mansell went on to win the championship. This first brutal crash comes after that title winning year, but not in Formula 1, it's actually in the British Touring Car Championship. Mansell hadn't defended his crown, racing abroad instead, so he missed the opportunity to race in front of his adoring home crowd. Formula 1 had 2 races in the UK that year, one at Silverstone for the British Grand Prix and the other the European Grand Prix at Donington Park. And it's at Donington where this first incident happens. Signed by Ford for a cameo drive, 60,000 fans packed their way through the back roads of Leicestershire to attend the event. Incredibly, more people turned up for this race than for Senna's historic victory earlier on that year. Only 50,000 people attended the Formula 1 event. Mansell had become a sporting hero and the British public couldn't get enough of him. Touring cars are totally different to what Mansell's used to. He's been driving rear-wheel drive single-seaters for the majority of his career. The Mondeo is a front-wheel drive touring car with no power steering. Adapting to them wouldn't be as easy, and it's shown. Mansell only qualified 13th. The race started well for Mansell, and he finished the first lap in 6th place. His teammate was 9th. By lap 4, Mansell was up to 4th. Things were looking good. But then, something started going wrong. Mansell's car started misfiring. He dropped to 7th on lap 5, and then the next time around it was 11th. Dropping backwards in front of such a huge crowd isn't exactly what Mansell planned for the day. Luckily, the misfire seemed to sort itself out. Mansell now drove like a man absolutely possessed. The guy was taking no prisoners and wringing the neck out of that front-wheel drive Mondeo, taking it to the edge on a couple of occasions, but would driving this hard come to bite him later on. Mansell was now fighting for the podium positions with victory still in sight. The fans were getting more excited with the thought of him potentially winning in front of them. As they swept through the crane of curves, Mansell was gunning for it. But then, Mansell hit the wall hard. Unluckily, he went into the concrete wall on the driver's side. If the Mondeo was a left-wheel drive, his body, and in particular his head, wouldn't have had such a big impact. Unsurprisingly, the impact knocked Mansell out. And as the car sat there in a mangled mess with Mansell's head slumped, there was genuine concern for his welfare. Mansell was placed in an ambulance, and it was there he regained consciousness. It was later confirmed that Mansell was concussed and he had broken some ribs. Looking at the replays, you can see that Mansell takes the old hairpin on the absolute limit. He locks his rear wheel and touches the inside curb. The car gets loose and he tries to correct it. With his slower speed, it gets punted into the back. I was very disappointed with another driver who crashed into the back of me, pushing me into the concrete wall at a very high speed, something in the region of 120 miles per hour. It was totally unnecessary. I hit the wall really hard. Donington have now added a tyre wall where Mansell had hit. As the race was at the end of the year, Mansell had the winter break to fully recover and resume his single-seater career in the 1994 IndyCar Championship. And it's in single-seaters where we discuss Mansell's next incident in the 1987 Formula 1 season. Mansell had largely a successful year. He raked up 8 pole positions and 6 wins, including an emotional victory at his home race, the British Grand Prix. The title battle was between Mansell and his highly paid teammate, Nelson Piquet. Despite Mansell's 6 wins, Piquet only claimed 3, although he did manage 7 other podiums compared to Mansell's single additional podium. Mansell's progress was hindered by mechanical issues and internal team politics. Adding to the tension, Honda, which powered the Williams car, also powered Lotus. With Piquet leaving for Lotus the following year, Mansell suspected a power disadvantage as Honda seemed focused on securing the number one for the following season. As the pair arrived for Honda's home race at the Japanese Grand Prix, the penultimate race of the season, Mansell was behind in the championship. However, he was gaining ground. He'd won the last two races. Mansell knew the title was in his hands. Win the last two races and he would secure his first ever world title. With the Japanese Grand Prix being held for the first time in 10 years, Honda had high hopes for the event. Mansell also hopes it would be him out of all the Honda powered cars who would claim pole position. But unfortunately, more heartbreak was on the way. The Suzuka track is incredibly fast, featuring sweeping curves with limited runoff areas, making it even more intimidating. At around 1:20 Friday afternoon, Japanese time, Mansell was in the middle of a fast qualifying lap. Driving flat out in fourth gear around 140 miles per hour, Mansell loses it. He spins and goes backwards into the tyre wall. The tyres initially do their job. They slowed and cushioned the impact, but unfortunately it flung Mansell's car into the air. The car then landed and Mansell took the full landing impact in his back. Not once, but twice. He releases the steering wheel, but he can't get out. Mansell was unlucky with the way the car landed. Half the car was on the circuit and the other half was off it. With there being a height difference between the track and the grass, no wheels initially touched the ground first. The middle of the car did, just where Mansell was sat, so the entire force went through the seat and into Mansell's back. All 75G of it. Mansell was rushed to hospital. He was struggling to breathe and he'd injured some vertebrae. The reason he was struggling to breathe was due to the broken ribs he'd also sustained. And with that crash, Piquet won the title. It would be another 5 years before Mansell could call himself a Formula One champion. In 1992, which is a year before the largest crash of his career. Before we move on, if you're enjoying this video so far, please do consider subscribing for more videos like this. Thank you. After winning the Formula One crown in 1992, Mansell couldn't negotiate a good deal to stay with Williams, so he decided to move to the United States. He signed with the Newman Haas team to race in the IndyCar Championship. At the time, IndyCar was far stronger and more popular than it is now, being the #1 single-seater series in the US, and more popular than Formula One there. With Hollywood actor Paul Newman as a co-owner and racing legend Mario Andretti as his teammate, it was a star-studded setup. Indy cars were heavier than F1 cars, and they were less nimble and generated less downforce. But they did have higher top speeds, and these top speeds were often reached on ovals, which, when you think about it, is pretty terrifying. Driving over 200 miles per hour around a track with only a concrete wall to stop you. No safer barriers like we have today. No halo, no aero screen. The HANS device wasn't even invented back then either. When you look back on it, it's actually quite bonkers that I actually raced like this. And it's with one of these concrete walls that Mansell experienced his third and scariest crash. The first race of the season was at Surfers Paradise in Australia, a street circuit. Even though Mansell was a rookie to the championship, as the reigning Formula One champion, there was still a lot of pressure on him. But he delivered, and he delivered well. He became the first driver to win a race from pole position on their debut, and also the first driver to win on their debut since Graham Hill did back in 1966. So the first challenge was successfully ticked off. Round 2 was at Phoenix, Mansell's biggest test yet, an oval. While Surfers Paradise was a new track and a car for Mansell, he had experience on street circuits. But ovals was something entirely different. After such a promising start, things would go horribly wrong in practice. In practice, everything had been going well, with Mansell instantly up to speed, setting fastest times, lap after lap, until Mansell had gone into the corner slightly quicker than before and with a slightly higher line, and the car swapped ends. He slammed into the wall backwards at 180 miles per hour. Let me remind you, a concrete wall. He created a 3-foot hole in that wall, something no one had ever done before. Mansell's back took most of the impact, and luckily for him, it was knocked out instantly because the accident had opened up a cavity in his lower back. A 12 by 14 inch opening had formed where the fat and the muscle had been torn away from the bone and the flesh of his back. The doctors were very concerned, explaining that they've never seen this type of injury on a patient that was still alive. This kind of injury is something you'd usually see with airplane crash victims. Amazingly, Mansell would make it to the next race of the season 2 weeks later. Twice daily hospital visits were required to drain half a pint of fluid buildup in the cavity, but he learned a valuable lesson about ovals. In F1, he was used to going out and putting in 110% effort from the start, but on an oval, you need to be about around 95% and then build up to 100. Mansell wouldn't have this type of accident again, and he went on to win the 1993 IndyCar Championship, becoming the first driver in history to be the Formula 1 World Champion and IndyCar Champion at the same time. One of Mansell's greatest victories came in the 1989 Hungarian Grand Prix. It was a statement to the world. It was a force to be reckoned with. It wasn't just any race, it was a battle against time, mechanical failures, and a gigantic rivalry with two titans, Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna. Click here to watch the day that Nigel Mansell showed Senna who's the boss.